Okay, so we are here. Hi.
Hi, this is
So
so fun.
I know. Well, we finally are going to get this off and running. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we're not going to do what we did last time, which was should we even talk about our sins or just let it be and just say we're not doing that?
You mean the sin of recording and then
One
never
or
recording
two,
again
and
for a
then
year?
letting it die. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's not
mm,
do that.
bad
Well,
choice.
we've been talking about this one for a while. So we should probably share a little bit about who we are, what we're doing, our partnership, and kind of the vision. It's kind of what I'm thinking for today.
Okay.
Typically, we will have guests. This is Taylor Figueroa. I'm Kimberly Shapiro. We are co-founders of the Executive Movement, which is not just an executive search firm, but also a executive networking group, and of course now the podcast. We also have another organization called the Search Movement that is a subscription-based recruiting model. So we own both of those, and we've actually been in business for about a year and 3 months now, something like that, year and two, whatever it is. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about that, what that's like, walking away from corporate America to create your own corporate America and still working very closely to corporate America. Um, but yeah, so that's it. We specialize the executive movement. Just give you guys a quick little rundown on that. We place C-suite talent and accounting and finance, all the way from senior accountant, senior analyst up to CFO. And we have clients that ask us to help out with HR and executive assistants and things like that. We always accommodate. And you want to tell a little bit about yourself, Taylor, how long you've been doing this and what you love about it, what you don't love about it?
I sure. I've been in recruiting for 7 years.
Yeah, a
Yes,
while.
a while. Um, and I started out in like the administrative entry level space and then went to work for a wonderful lady, Kimberly Shapiro, at,
Oh,
at a firm that was accounting and finance focused primarily, but we also did administrative,
yeah,
HR, that whole thing there.
just
Anyway,
accounting and finance.
but I got into the accounting and finance side and I really liked it. And I did the staffing side, which was contract to hire. But then as I was there, I got more into the direct hire side and I really found
Your
my
niche.
passion, my
You know what
niche.
you're good at? You know what I always love when somebody gives us a role that's really hard, like the needle in the haystack kind of position that most people call a purple squirrel and they don't want to even work on it. Those are the ones that you're good at. Those are
I
the
do
ones
like
that
those.
and you find people. You always do. I remember when we were at our previous firm, you were the go-to for those types of roles. Nobody else wanted them, but you're like, "I'll do it," and you would always find somebody. If
Yeah,
it's in
I
a
liked it
remote
because
area,
no one, they're not getting, these candidates are not getting hit up constantly every day.
by 1,000 different
Yeah,
companies and recruiters and yeah.
because that is always a challenge. Like,
Yeah.
when people are, like, senior accountants, like, that is just, like, the hardest
Yeah,
group
those
of
guys are getting
people.
100 messages a day. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
So, that's always a it's not impossible, but it just makes it harder. Um, and then I don't I feel like I was kind of intimidated by controller and above stuff at first, but now I actually really like it.
You prefer it. Yeah.
I prefer it, because just the candidates are so.
Well, the communication, it's an
Yeah,
actual dialogue, it's a conversation. They're always so, kind and accommodating and just easy to talk to.
very easy to talk to, and I feel like I've literally learned about accounting and finance from just talking to those people.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"I could get a job. I could go in and probably get a job in accounting and not
Don't
once I
don't
actually have
hire
to
her.
do the job."
Don't do it, y'all. Don't hire her.
Like, not once I
Not
have
for
to do
that.
the job,
Not for
but I
that.
think I could say the right things to get the job.
That's funny.
Um, anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Well, that's Taylor. I've been doing this for about 17 years. I was an accountant for a while. I guess about 8, I think I always say 10 years, but it was really like 8 years, before I got into this industry, and I was working at a, small kinda mid-cap organization, had been there about 5.5, 6 years, and just kinda burnt out, didn't wanna do it anymore, quit my job, was gonna stay at home. My husband talked me into being a stay-at-home mom, and for those who don't know, Taylor is my daughter.
It is
That's
true.
kind of fun. It's true. It's true. So we launched this company together, which is a whole nother story and so fun. But anyway, yeah. So I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, and that lasted 3 days. My husband put me on a budget, and I said, "Oh hell no, I am
Never
not."
mind.
No, if a dollar coffee from McDonald's, and I've grown up since then, I don't prefer that. However, if a dollar coffee is going to be a problem for our budget, I guess I go back to work. So I literally got online that afternoon and I had a job offer from Robert Half like that afternoon or the next day, like the next afternoon. Um, making like $40,000 a year. Like I went from
I like
um
entry level.
I mean, I took a significant pay cut, but I was mid-career and I was changing careers, so I was like, "Mm, okay," and it was
And
more
you
than
could
my
get your dollar
stay-at-home.
coffee.
I could get my dollar coffee, and it was more than my stay-at-home mom job was gonna pay, so
Mhm.
it was, an upside from that perspective. So anyway, that was, like 2008, and I've been doing it ever since, and I love it, and here we are. Yeah, we got our own firm now, and we got our own firm, like,
We
we
got
have
our own
we
firm.
have our own firm, and it's been a really fun year. What would you say is the hardest transition? So, last February, January 31st for me, February for you, deciding that we're gonna leave our jobs, our cushy first and 15th paycheck, and we're just gonna do it. We're gonna start our own business. And what would you say is the absolute hardest?
Not knowing where your next like, you have to constantly be hustling.
Yes. Every day I'm
Every
hustling.
day, every day, every day. Um,
Yeah.
because
That's
it's
that's
yeah,
true.
you don't get paid on the 1st and the 15th. So,
Yeah.
once you close even once we are like, "Yay, we got someone a job," like, we wrap that up, tie it with a bow, they start, they love it. You're like, "Okay, what's next?" Like, you gotta
Always, always what's next.
there's never really time to be like, feel relaxed or feel like,
No.
"Okay, yeah." In fact yeah, anyway, that I was about
Never,
to go down the
never.
whole
I would say that's been the challenge for me is like the win of finding someone a new, career home, and you're so excited because they're so excited and your client is so excited and it's such a happy moment, and then you're like, "Ooh, but now we gotta move on to the next,"
you're like,
right?
"Now, okay, let's go. Let's" yeah.
Yeah, you can only celebrate for so long because and it takes a long time. I think there's a misnomer of the industry. I don't think people really understand the work on the back end that
Mm,
goes into what we do. I don't think they, really understand like if we present, let's say 3 people to an opportunity, that doesn't mean we had 3 conversations and we sent people and then, it's crickets and we're just,
yeah,
waiting for you to decide. It's like there's a lot of legwork and time that goes on behind the scenes of just researching who are we even going to call? Like who's worthy of this role? And I shouldn't use worthy, but who's a fit? Like
mhm.
who should we be reaching out to? And you make a list of all these people and you spend so much time sourcing and weeding out individuals that wouldn't be a fit based on search criteria.
Well, and sometimes
Then
that changes, like, mid-search.
oftentimes that changes. It changes a lot of times after you make that first submittal or that first individual
Yeah,
introduction and that candidate introduction, and then you find out, "Oh, well, actually, we'd like, fill in the blank," and that's fine. I mean, like, that's part of the
right.
business, and it does shift, but, so yeah, so you spend, a lot sometimes hours, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. It just depends on the role and how niche it is, and then you start reaching out to people, and it's what would you say, 1 out of 15 that will respond,
Mhm.
depending on the role.
Depending on the
Yeah,
role,
I mean, depending
but
on the
yeah.
role. But yeah, and then you have the conversation with them, and you either determine they're not a fit, or they determine they're not a fit, or you collectively determine they're not a fit, and then you're back to the drawing board, and so the 3 that you actually send are the ones that you deemed a good fit, and you had to go through how many interviews to get to the one that you think is worthy of submission. And I hate
Yeah.
using the word worthy. Everyone is worthy in their, roles
Yeah,
at
but, like, the
some point,
match for
but
that
the
job that
match.
you're working
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of hours. I think time is our biggest commodity for
a
sure.
lot of time,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And then you have a
So
whole day of interviewing, talking to people, and the problem is if you get to the end of the day and you're like, "I just don't feel really excited about any of these people,"
starting over.
then you gotta go start over and you're like, "Okay, but then I was just talking to 5 people that I
Or
didn't
10. How
think
many
were a
days
fit."
do we
Yeah,
have 10 interviews in one day,
yeah.
and we
And you
get
have
to
to
the end?
constantly be remembering, I'm making connections. Even if they're not a fit, I'm still just networking and talking to people and I wanna help them and,
Yeah.
you remember them and then you can help them down the road, but in the moment, it is like, "Oh, man, I just talked to 5 people and none of them are gonna be good for this job."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or, like last week, 10 people in a day, and that happens
Mhm.
a lot. That
Yeah.
happens a lot, and I spend a lot of time talking to people, that are in transition, so they just find me through my networking connections. Shout out to, Pete Hernandez and Foster, over at what is it? South Lake Focus Group and Frisco Connect. Those guys are amazing. If you guys are in transition, definitely check out those 2 groups if you're in the DFW metro area, but, they're always making connections and sending people to me, which is amazing. I love that, and I also connect with people just randomly, when we're doing our sourcing on
Mhm.
LinkedIn and I see people that are in transition, but they're not necessarily a fit for the role that we're looking for. I'll send them a message and say, "Let's connect. I'd like, I don't necessarily have anything for you right now, but I'd love to, know about you and what you're looking for, blah blah blah." So we spend a lot of time doing that too.
Yes.
Any other lessons learned though for owning your own business at the age of, 30?
Don't take 5 vacations your first year. Okay,
Uh-huh.
but to be fair, those were all pre-planned for both
They
of
were
us.
all pre-planned. Well,
Like,
Europe wasn't
so
for me. That came later, but yeah.
which one?
Europe.
Oh, you're right,
I
that
didn't agree to do that until September and the or whatever it was. It was like August and it was a November trip. So that was pretty quick.
that's right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, mine
Yeah.
were all pre-planned, I think, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Wow, I really was at the airport a lot last year."
Yeah, a lot of
So,
hotels, a lot of airports, a lot of travel. It was honestly though, is momentous, is that the word that I'm looking for? Like, it was a big
momentous.
yeah, it was a big year. It was like,
It was a big
you
year.
know, not only did we start our own business, which was really exciting, we had all these trips that we did that were just like you did international travel, I did international travel. Um, it was just a fun year.
It
I
was
thought.
mhm.
Yeah. I
It
would
was
agree with
fun.
you though. Lessons learned
I
on
was like, "We could slow it down." This year, we're banning ourselves from traveling.
yeah, no travel this year. It's laser focus. We also have had a lot of movement in the organization this year. So we've rebranded and we started out as Shapiro Search Partners and then we rebranded to the Executive Movement, which we had this brand. Like I bought the URL to that back in 2018 to start a networking group. That was the whole point of it. And then I had it and I never did it because I was
I
so
was always
busy.
like, "I like this. This is a really good name," and you were like, "Ah,
Yeah, I mean,
okay."
I thought it was a good networking name. But anyway, long story short, we decided just to kind of go forward with that since we'd already launched our networking group, our executive networking group. So we decided just to keep that just for ease. But yeah, we had some advisors that told us you really probably don't want to have your name attached. And I've heard so many people say that's not true. But it is what it is. And we are where we are. And
It is what
I
it is.
like
We
it.
are the executive
And
movement.
and I like it, yeah, so it's been fun. So we had the rebrand, and then we launched a new company. We have launched our brand ambassador program, which we can talk about that. And there's something else, isn't there? Oh, our subscription-based model, um,
Subscription.
that
Yeah.
we are just now launching this month, which is really exciting.
Mhm.
So yeah, we've got a lot of movement. We've had a lot of things going on. So it's been good. And I would say from a consistency perspective, we have closed like I hate to say closed because we're talking about people's lives. We have um made a placement. Someone has found their new opportunity with us every single month that we've been in business.
Yeah.
We've not gone 1 month, without 1 or 2, if not more, like, people
Mhm.
finding a job. So that feels good. I feel
Yeah.
good about that. We do have a pretty big goal for 2024, so check
We
back in
really do.
2025 to see if we hit that.
We really do. We said, "Let's go.
We're gonna do it. We're
We're
gonna do
gonna
it.
do it. We can
Well,
do it."
we could do it. We could definitely do it. You know, one thing that I love about being on our own and doing our own thing is we can do it our way. So
Don't say that because now I'm gonna have,
what?
"I did it
Oh, this
my
is
way."
it. It's true though. I love that we
There's
can
no
do it
songs in my head then.
our I know, you and your song. Everything's a song to Taylor. Just start talking to her for 5 minutes and she'll start singing, but some sort of, song reference, but, um, anyway, I just love that we can do what we want. We can do it our way. We can mold it, we can shape it, we can change it. We can get as granular as we want. We can be as involved as we want. We're not following like a corporate protocol.
Yeah, that has
So,
been really fun.
mhm. Um, well, let's talk about our brand ambassador program. I know we only have a limited amount of time today, so it's just really kind of our launch. Before we talk about the brand ambassador program, let's talk about the podcast and the people that we
Oh, yeah,
have
yeah.
already slated to come on. So we have some business authors, we have some speakers that are career oriented, like their topics are around careers and employment, and then we have some CEO coaches. We've got, I'm trying to think, there's like 7 people in queue. So we've got a lot of really cool, talented, exciting people that are going to be on it in the next 7 weeks, which I think we'll do this weekly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, so let's talk about the brand ambassador program. So I came up with we're a small company, very small. We're a boutique firm. And Taylor and I are very active in every aspect of the business, which, we can't do all things. We can't be all things to all people. And so Taylor and I both love the recruiting side of this business. We're both good recruiters. We can find very, very hard to find talent. People who aren't talking to, they're not out there applying to jobs. They're not really talking to anyone. We'll get them talking to us. And so I think that is what makes us a little bit different. But, that also means, okay, but who's out there selling?
Right.
Because that's kind of important to a startup. So,
Just a
what just a little. So, while I've been relying on my network heavily for that, which has been great and it has, worked for us, I have created a program for individuals that are already out there. So, CFOs, CEOs, people that I know, those that are in transition, that are not really sure what the next step is going to be or when it's going to come. So I have a 4-tier ambassadorship, shall we call it? So, and we'll just walk through that. I wish I had my graphic, I could share it so everyone could see it, but alas, I do not. It would take me too much time to go find it. But basically, what that's going to be is we have a referral partner, and that is somebody, or it's a brand ambassador. That is somebody that if they just send us if they call me and say, Kim, I just interviewed at a position that's not for me. This is not. And by the way, I want everyone to understand, I don't want business that other recruiters are working. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in stealing business from anybody else that's out there doing this. But if somebody interviews of their own, they applied to a job and it wasn't for them and they call and tell me about it and I call and I'm able to solidify a relationship and gain the green light to work on that position and we fill it, I'll give them a 5% referral for letting us know about that role. And then the next one is referral partner, and that is somebody who actually makes a warm introduction. So they have a friend or a family member, or they interviewed, or however it comes to them, and they let us know that they have an opportunity. We'll pay them a fee for making that introduction, and then we have our account executive level, and that is somebody that they are a true partner of the executive movement. They are out there, they're carrying cards, they have an email, an executive movement email. They are showing that they work with our organization or they're strategic partner of our
Hitting the
organization.
streets.
Hitting the streets. Well, a lot of these guys are out there, people are out there, they're networking
They're on the
anyway.
streets.
They're out there anyway, they're networking, they're talking to people, so, we will compensate them for sharing, our brand and helping us expand awareness around our brand, so that's kind of the mission because we just can't do all things, ourselves, and we've got a few people on the team right now, and it's just I didn't expect people to look at it the way that they're seeing it. I thought it was just like, "Hey, you guys are out there networking. If you talk to a friend or somebody, that's hiring and you make an introduction, we'll pay you a referral fee for that information." Black and white, thought that was gonna be it, but these guys are so excited to make this more than what I
Mhm.
initially thought. They wanna be partners of our organization. They actually want to learn how to sell. They
You're like,
want to
"You like
become
me?"
or us, like, they love the brand, they love the industry, they wanna help people, and it's really cool. So, I'm
Yeah,
excited about that. But yeah,
I'm
that's
excited
all
about that too.
I know, I think it's really cool. I think it's neat to have people out there advocating for us, and we
Mhm.
get to pay them for that. And
Yes.
yeah, I think it's fun. Um, what else we got?
Well, so much. Where do we
So much. Yeah.
You did bring up or there was something you brought up and I thought, "Oh, I wanna talk about that," but I can't remember what it was. It was something I saw on LinkedIn today. I think it was you talking about this might be very random and off topic, but it was you talking about the flexibility that we have that we're working for
Oh,
ourselves and whatever.
yes, yes,
And I
yes.
was seeing someone post today, or a couple people post from a firm. It's the same firm these two people work at. But anyway, when they were posting their open positions, they put like public accounting and CPA required for all positions. There was like 3 or 4 positions that they had. And I had a moment of being like, I am so happy that we have not that we won't do roles that require public accounting or
And we do, like, we
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 do, but
absolutely
I just
will.
feel
We're
like
not
we've been really
stuck
lucky to
in that.
not that has not been the bulk of our business. It's not been
No.
people, they'll be like, "It's great if they have it, but they don't have to have it."
No, it's been like a nice to have, but not a requirement. Well,
Yeah.
and I think that's because our niche is small to mid cap. So,
Mhm.
we really are and so I would say average revenue would be 10, I was gonna say 5, but it's really 10 million. 10 to what would you say 100 million. Like that's been kind of the
Mhm.
sweet spot. And those organizations are looking for skill. They're not
Right.
looking for somebody that's just right out of public and, yes, credentials absolutely matter. And obviously that
And that's always
experience
a plus
matters.
when someone has
But they're
public
looking
account.
for people who have, like, experience sitting in these seats, who can just kind of jump in and do the job because they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have, the team support, like, these people are coming in and building teams typically,
Yeah.
because they're smaller organizations, so I agree with you, I love that, and that's always been my niche when I was, back in the day when I was d in production like I am now, that was my sweet spot. It's never really been working with large organizations that are just wanting, all the credentials and, Big 4 and again, get it, love it. If that's what you need, we'll find it, but that hasn't been the bulk of our business.
No, and I was
Yeah,
grateful for that. When I
I
saw that,
know.
I was like, "I love that that's not been." And even when they've oh, beyond that, owning your own firm gives you the freedom to when a client's telling you, "We really want them to have, public accounting. We really want them to have Big 4 and CPA." Like, we're both pretty
And we wanna pay 80K.
don't even get me started. And we're, like, fully in the office, but anyways, okay, now I'm just gonna go down a rabbit hole, but we're both very, upfront and honest, and we're like, "Listen, that's a great wish list to have, but please don't have those." Like, we're very open with our
Honest.
clients on having
Well,
those
and I
conversations.
always tell people, "Okay, like, if that is what you want, then okay. But
Mhm.
please understand that that big pool of candidates that you would ordinarily be able to fish from, let's say, you just narrowed it down to like this because if you're fully in office, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand too is the more niche that you get, the fewer and fewer and fewer candidates that are going to be open to even having a conversation about the role. Forget even just getting to an interview. Like it just narrows the pool of people who even want to talk about it. And the biggest one, and I know Taylor will agree with this, is that in office thing. If you're fully in office, a lot of these CPA, Big 4, like, those guys are working hybrid, if not remote, and they're not gonna move fully in office if they're currently working hybrid, especially if the compensation is lower. And, we actually had a client that we had to say, I just don't think that we're a good fit because based on the parameters of what you're looking for and the compensation range that you are targeting, um, you're not going to be happy with the people we bring you. And our brand is very important to us. And at the end of the day, that's, I have to protect that. And you're just not going to think we're very good at our jobs based on, the parameters that we're given. So we are very honest about that. And if they say, yeah, it's fine, just see what you can, just go out there and see what you can
And you
find.
do what you
And
need
we
to
always, always, always accommodate. But we just wanna make sure they understand, like, the market will bear what the market will bear, and compensation has increased so much in the last, like, 5 years. I think it's leveling off now, but wow, the increase from 2019 to today. I mean, 2019, a senior accountant was making you could find some that were making 65K. Some.
Mhm.
Average
When
folks,
I first got into accounting and finance, I feel like 75 was, like, a
the
good
average, yes.
number, like, an
75,
average,
80, yeah, and
and
now
then by, like, 2021, it was like, I'm 95.
90, yeah, 90 to
I'm like
95, and now it's over 100.
I'm like, "Oh, no."
And we find them. We can definitely find senior accountants in that 90K space, but the really, like, the ones you like, the
The
CPAs,
ones
and
you want.
I shouldn't say that, that's not true. Because like, I would say a 90K senior that's working in a mid-cap company, they're good, they're talented, they can juggle a lot of balls, those guys are they're great
Well,
accountants.
it all goes back to what else are you requiring? So, are
Yes.
you requiring a CPA? Because then in a
Yeah.
90K for someone who doesn't need public accounting or a CPA, I think is fair. I think you can
Yeah,
definitely
I
find a
agree.
senior accountant
I
for that.
agree.
Especially if you're offering hybrid, I think you could find a really good senior accountant
You
for 90.
definitely can, yeah.
But if you want like CPA preferred or CPA eligible even, and you want them to be in the office every single day and like I'm like, "Hey, it's hard. It's tough
Yeah.
in these streets." And
That's a
it's just
lot of
like
conversations.
but it's hard too because when I'm talking to a candidate, I understand their hesitation.
Well, and tell them what the most common say the most common pushback that people give when we say it's fully in office and they're currently working hybrid, even if the job is more money, what do they say? You've said this so many times.
Oh, like, people will full on be like, "Oh, so you're telling me my time is, worth
The time with my family
time
is
with my family
is
and
worth
my
more
kids."
money.
When
That's what
people
they've
say the
said, like,
kids thing, I'm like, "Oh, I'm not
"Yeah,
trying to
I
say
don't
that.
know, I'm just
I'm not
sharing."
the enemy." 'Cause I'm like, "I understand that." "Oh, you think the time with my kids, you could put a number on that?" And I'm like, wow."
You're
We
like, "So no?"
do they have, like are they in select sports? Because that's expensive, so you might need to make more money. I'm like, "You
They're
could
like,
put a
"Well, we
number."
won't be able to get our kids there because I'll be working." No, just kidding.
Exactly, exactly,
Just
yeah.
kidding.
I really think, like, if companies move to hybrid we need to have a whole episode on hybrid
Well,
working.
we need to have an episode on the comments that we get, like, just literally reading straight up from our outreach, commentary, like, when we're trying to, like, talk to someone or engage them in a potential opportunity, and if the first thing they're gonna say is it hybrid? That's always the first
Is it
question,
hybrid? Is it hy
not the money,
Remote is kind
not
of dying
anything else.
off. I have less people being like, "I wanna work remote." Most people are fine with
Well, most
hybrid.
yeah, I don't hear that much anymore either, but the hybrid, first thing they ask is it hybrid? Always, and if it's not, they're like, "No, thanks."
I know, it's like I try to be as upfront as
Yeah.
possible in my messages to candidates because I feel like they really respond better to that when you're upfront about the compensation and
Yes, yeah.
hybrid or remote, they appreciate that. But man, sometimes I'm like, "I'm just gonna hide that this is an office, so you'll wanna talk to me, and then we can be friends." And then I can be like, "By the way,
Like, I really
it's
just
an
wanna know
office."
you, it's not just about this job.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Like, a lot of these people, I'm like, "No, I really just wanna, like, know what you're looking for," but they won't even talk to me
Yeah.
if I put in office a lot of the time. The for
Yeah.
Let me clarify in this
Sometimes,
conversation, if it's, like, accounting manager and
and above.
above,
They will
especially
always yeah.
controllers, they typically don't have a problem working in the office.
I
Um
agree with that, and they also are open to a conversation even if they're not really in the market. They'll listen, they'll talk.
But I think what people fail to realize is like a senior accountant. Okay, typically you're going to be probably what, late 20s, early 30s if you're following the trajectory of like a standard movement up the accounting ladder.
Yeah.
Well, those people are the people who have young children.
Yeah,
So
true.
those would be the people that you would typically see needing to have flexibility in their schedule.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why when you go more up and you get into, like, especially by the time they're controllers and you're in your late 30s, early
Because you're
40s, sometimes
older and yeah.
mid-40s, it's not that important because their kids are grown or they're in high school or, it's not the same. They don't have the same requirement
Yeah.
as a person who's a senior accountant, and they're
Well,
trying
and
to
it's a
move.
game changer, right, wrong, or indifferent. COVID did teach us one thing, and that is it showed us what we were missing, by sitting in traffic every single day
Yeah,
for an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours every single day, rushing, to get out of the office by 5:30 so you could make it to the daycare by 6 o'clock so you could get home to do homework and make dinner and have a normal life, but, oh, it's not really all that normal because everyone's fighting because everyone's rushed, and it's like, it's just like this perpetual loop of frustration, and COVID showed us we don't have to live like that.
I think we need to have a whole episode on the death of the American dream, and let me expand on that and drop a little nugget for everyone. My generation, millennial I'm actually a very young millennial, I border on Gen Z. I'm, like, the last year or 2 of millennial, but anyway, um, we I do own my own home. I know that I'm outside of the statistics, but most young millennials, Gen Z, like, they don't own homes, and they're projecting, like, most of them won't
Yeah.
own homes, like, until like,
Because
it's just
interest
crazy.
rates and pricing has just increased so much
And
that it's
they don't make the income's not changing to keep up with inflation, and, like, it's just they can't afford it, and so I'm like, what people fail to realize is it's not that these people don't wanna work as hard or they don't wanna dedicate as much time to their career. It's like what people 30 years ago were working for, going to work every day, sitting in traffic for, it was the American dream. You're gonna own a home, you're gonna have 2
yeah,
cars, you're gonna be able to take your family on a vacation every year with maybe even just one person in the family working.
right.
And it was like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna sit in traffic every day, and, like, it's not a problem for me." I'm like, "But when those
Because
dreams
there was a
die,
carrot at the end
there's a
of the
carrot."
work. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
whenever you take the carrot away and people are like, "Oh, I could do all of that. I could do all the right things, and I
Still
cannot
not
achieve
afford
that.
to own a home. Yeah.
I cannot achieve that." I think it really is shifting people's mentality, and they are like, "Okay, if I'm gonna live in my apartment for the rest of my life and just spend my money on coffee because I can't afford anything else, then I'm gonna hang out with my friends, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm home with my kids." And
Yeah.
it just shifts the
It
mentality.
does shift everything. I do agree with that because if you think about a recent let's just stick with the accounting and finance lane. Let's say you graduate with an accounting degree and you get started, you get your very first job making like 55K, and then within 2 years you're probably going to be maybe 3 years you've moved up to maybe a senior accountant status and you're at 75, 80 maybe. Within
Mhm.
5 years you're at 90, 95. Well, the average price home is 350,000 with interest rates where they are. That's like a $3,000 to $4,000 mortgage a month, and then you've got your car payments, and then you've got daycare, and the cost of daycare is like insane. It's what,
Or groceries.
28,000? Didn't you say you paid $28,000 at one point a year for daycare?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
even, like, now my kids are in part-time, and I still pay between 15 to 1,800 a month, and it's actually going up, so it's gonna be, like,
2
16
grand. Oh,
to
16.
19. Yeah,
Yeah, and so
but that's part-time. But, like,
Yeah,
they
and
don't
so
go
you
full time.
factor in all of those costs, and most people are like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna go sit in
No.
traffic for an hour and
No,
just
people are like, "I'm gonna sell my home," or not even sell my home because you don't have a home. "I'm gonna buy a van and we're gonna, like, have chickens. We're gonna" that's what people literally, I see all kinds of young people that are like, "Anyway, we just live on land in a modular home, and we have chickens now." I
Or
just
or just an apartment. They're
or
apartment
an
dwellers, and they
apartment.
love it, and they're happy, and I think Gen Z is, like, a perfect example of all I wanna do is be able to afford my rent, and they don't have car payments because they're still driving the cars their parents bought them
Yeah.
in college, a lot of them, and so they don't have car payments, they're paying for rent, and all they wanna do is be able to afford Uber Eats, a bar every once in a while, and rent.
They're like,
And
"That sounds good
if
to
they can
me."
cover that, they're, like, winning, hashtag winning. So, yeah, it has
And
definitely shifted.
meanwhile, their bosses or their bosses' bosses are like, "I just don't understand. They're so lazy." I'm like, "Yeah, because when you were in their spot, you thought, 'I do this and I have it made. I have, like, everything
Well
you could ever want.'" And I'm like,
well,
"They don't have that."
they were working to buy a house. They were working to yeah, and that's not a reality as much anymore. No, I
Yeah.
agree with that. I was gonna say something about because we had a team of the laziness thing about Gen Z.
Mhm.
They're not lazy. So at our previous firm where Taylor and I worked, I hired mostly Gen Z to support the one of the teams that I was managing, and those guys worked hard and they were dedicated and they were loyal and they wanted to learn and they wanted feedback and they wanted to be good at their job. I mean, I would say almost every single one of them did care, did work,
Yeah.
did want it. They just they didn't wanna work 60 hours a week, and they didn't wanna work on the weekend, but between, 9 to 5, they were, like, fully committed, fully engaged, fully all in.
Well, and again, I would say we had a hybrid schedule. We didn't start till 9. Even then, everything was very flexible at that
Mhm.
company. Like, you don't feel good, go home. Like, no one's gonna make you feel bad that you're sick.
Yeah.
If you it was just very flexible. I gave people, so I think that shows you again, people will work hard if you treat
Yes.
them like an adult and like a human being and not just like a robot
Yeah.
who's
I was
has
always
no.
impressed with that team. I was always like, "These guys really," because Gen Z does have a misnomer. They do have an unfair reputation, and I just don't
Mhm.
think based on my personal experience, I don't think there's truth to that. I think they do wanna work. Now, I do know we've got family friends that have, college educated
Yeah.
children that are at home and not working, and I know that's frustrating for the parents, but, that's not like a whole generation. I think by and large, a lot of these, I'm gonna call them kids. I know you guys aren't kids, but to me, almost 50, so I'm gonna call you kids, wanna work, wanna learn, they want feedback, they want you to tell them how they're doing. If they're not doing well, they wanna know. So
Mhm.
I just had a very different experience with them.
Yeah.
I like them, put them in their
Them.
own little sorry about that. Well, anyway, I think that's kind of our nutshell, we
That's
actually
our
made it
nutshell.
to what is it, 38 minutes?
38. Yep. I feel like we
Okay,
dropped some nuggets on future episodes we could go off on.
I think we did. Okay, cool.
Or
Well,
we're still recording. I just drank my Chick-fil-A.
mhm. I, um,
You can delete that.
I don't have to I'm probably gonna leave it in. Everyone knows Taylor eats Chick-fil-A.
And it's a Dr. Pepper. I've been doing sweet or unsweet tea lately, but
I
it's a
was
Dr.
gonna
Pepper.
say, you don't drink that anymore. Alright, well, if you're listening, thank you so much. Again, we are an executive search firm. We specialize in C-level talent and accounting and finance from senior accountants, senior analysts to CFO, all direct hire, retained and contingent. And then, of course, we have our subscription-based model. If you're curious about that, you can check out the website at www.searchmoveit.com, or you can just give me a call. My phone number is plastered everywhere. So on
It really is.
LinkedIn, it really is just everywhere. No one's ever abused it. I always get comments on that. No one's ever abused it. So we're not really going to have this podcast anywhere except for LinkedIn and like Spotify and just the typical podcast platform, the Apple one. Outside of that,
The
probably not going to
Apple
be there.
one?
What's it called? I don't know. Don't make fun. I'm
I
Gen X.
didn't. It just
Okay,
made me
that's
laugh.
enough of you. I've had enough. All
The
right, everyone.
Apple one?
The Apple
It's
one. Isn't that what it
purple,
is?
it's on your iPhone.
It's the purple one. you know? Okay. All right. So much fun. Love you, darling. Um,
Love you, darling.
that's all I got.
Is that our sign off? Love you,
There is.
darling.
Love you, darling. Until next time.
Okay, until next time.
Bye.